Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another Premier Division show, and Sean's with me for this one this week.
Hmm.
And Sean, boy, do we have some talking points this week? It wouldn't be the League of Ireland without any talking points, would it?
I really wouldn't. I came back at a very interesting time. Certainly, there's lots to talk about, and pretty much every single game this week. There's talking points for at
Yeah,
least one of the teams involved. So yeah, I'm really interested. I actually have to write like a load. I've got like a notebook full of notes here
full
for every
notebook
game.
of notes.
Yeah, I've got like there's so much to talk about. Yeah, no, I don't know. Are we gonna get to it all by the end of the night?
That's the point as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll start off at Weavers Park, where I finished Drogheda United 2, Bohemians 2, and Shane Farrell gave Drogheda the lead after 9 minutes with a fantastic free kick. Dale Rooney equalised from the penalty spot on 18 minutes. On 22 minutes, there was an OG from Bolger, which put Bowles back ahead. And a Keen Byrne OG in 60 minutes meant that both sides shared the spoils. And I suppose when you look at the table, from this point of view, from Bowes' point of view, they weren't beaten. So, they've
Mm.
a gap of 7 points ahead of Drogheda, and they do have two games at hand. And Bowes fans will be saying that shouldn't be where we're kind of looking at, but that's the reality where they are, isn't it? To
Yeah,
be
yeah.
fair.
Mm.
And then from a Drogheda point of view, it's a point gained because Dundalk were beaten. So Drogheda now are 2 points behind Dundalk. But it was a game that seemed to ebb and flow. I've spoken to fans of both teams about this game. I just seen the highlights for it myself. But it seemed to ebb and flow. It seemed that the Bows had the better of the first half mainly, and Drogheda mainly had the better of the second half. But there was that Shane Farrell free kick, first of all. What a free kick.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when Drogheda announced that they signed him, it was clear that he was going to be a really great signing for him. I mean, it's great that he's had an impact so early on. I mean, yeah, it's a fantastic free kick. Really, he puts it just right where you want it. It was a great start to the game for Drogheda, and they'll be disappointed not to win it because I think if they'd have won this game, they
Mm.
you could argue that Bowes would have got sucked into the relegation fight as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Mm,
The penalty in 18 minutes from Dale Rooney.
mm,
Um, it was weird because I think it was a penalty to be fair, but
mm.
the strange thing is both goals were similar in the sense of they were both like corner kicks from Dale Rooney from that side of
Yeah.
his left foot.
Mm.
And obviously with the penalty, I think Dennison kind of he flaps at it. He doesn't get a clear
Yeah.
way that was
Mm.
convincing for me, and ultimately they concede a penalty.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've talked about we see this a lot with Drogheda over the course of the season. The two things happened today.
Mm.
First of all, that they concede from set pieces, that they can't seem to manage set pieces, and as well as that they concede in clusters. I mean, it happened to them. The most notable instance of this, I think, was the game against Galway, where they conceded two goals in injury time because the goals came one after the other, as well as that. So yeah, I mean, really disappointing, and that's ultimately where the 3 points were dropped for Drogheda, I think, because for the rest of the game they were really good, but just letting their guard down for that, I think it was a 5 minute spell where they conceded the two goals is
Mm.
really what cost them in the end today or
Yeah,
on
and I
Friday.
actually think the two OGs in the game, not the way you concede an OG and you kind of go, oh, that was a bit
Mm,
unlucky. But I thought they were
yeah,
poor OGs by both sides. I think Bolger could have done
yeah,
better with his, and I think
mm,
for the Bowles one, Keane Byrne,
yeah,
it's hard to explain, but he's kind of running back and kind of kicks it into the net. It's a bit like, it's not
yeah.
unlucky, it's poor defending, basically, in my view.
They're a bit unorganized. I still think the Drogheda one is far worse because kind of, I mean, you don't want to concede. It's like almost like I forget who got the actual last touch on it for Drogheda,
It was
but
Bolger, yeah,
oh, it
new
was
centre back,
Bulger.
yeah.
Yeah, it was Bulger. I
Mm.
think Dennison probably could have done better with it. It seemed like he didn't get off the ground early enough or high enough
Yeah, I
in
agree
order
with
to
that as
deal
well.
with it. It was a really soft goal to give away. I think at least for the goal that Bowes conceded, you can argue that the ball is whipped in fairly quickly.
Mm.
Um, yeah, but I mean, again, Bowes would be disappointed that
Mm.
they've strengthened significantly. They got Ross Tierney, Dawson Devoy, and Lee Kavanagh as well, who also is a talking point in this game.
Mm.
But and again, defensively, just so poor.
Actually, what do you
Both.
think about that situation where Lee Kavanagh gets sent off a second yellow? He
Yeah.
doesn't look like there's much contact, but you can definitely see what he was given because Drogheda were on a very
Yeah.
dangerous counter attack there.
I think the funny thing is actually that if he leaves it go, it amounts to nothing because I think the ball to Markey is actually overplayed.
Mm,
It goes far too wide, so I think
mm,
he could have dealt with it. I mean, look, to be fair, that's easy for us to say. We have the cameras and we have the benefit of hindsight. Maybe in the heat of the moment, if he leaves him go and he gets in and scores, like
yeah.
what's Anil Reynolds going to think of him?
Mm.
So I can understand why it was given. But after that, I mean, I tell you what, after that, they were lucky to come away with anything at all because Drogheda had two very good chances to win the game.
They did. Tereska makes two great saves, I think. One from
Mm.
Foley and the other one from Perot. And normally in the position where Perot's in, this is actually the last kick of the game as well,
Yeah,
by the way. You'd
yeah.
kind of say he needs to be scoring from there. But Tereska comes out so quickly to narrow down that
Mm.
angle that Perot's nowhere to go,
Yeah.
really, has he?
Oh no, I mean, he saved them a lot of times over the course of the season. Charaska, been very good for him, and yeah, I think I'm actually more impressed by. I guess because it's more acrobatic, I'm more impressed with the save he made from Foley because
Mm,
it's going into the corner.
it looks
But
great.
yeah, I mean, two really good saves. Like I mean, so I don't know who I give man of the match to overall, but I think if it's a Bowes contest
Mm.
only, then yeah, it's clearly Charaska.
Mm. Yeah, you're right. Like Bowes one win in 13 games, and
Mm.
but yeah, right. Drogheda will feel in the end
Mm.
disappointed that they didn't get the win because of those two late opportunities. And as you said, that would have put a serious amount of pressure on Bowes again, who have only one win in 13, as I mentioned there as well.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, Reynolds is after stepping away from the under 21 rule. That to me seems like the pressure is starting to ratchet up at
Mm.
both. Um, it almost seemed tailor made for him because he's worked with Pat Finland before down here at Waterford, and he's got good players in now. You know, the board, in fairness to them, have given him their backing with the players that I've mentioned, and he's actually gotten rid of some players as well that were on multi-year deals. That can't have been cheap either, and the we. I mean, to be fair, I suppose the only thing to say about Bose is that it can change very quickly with the way the league is shaping up. It wouldn't take that much for them in theory to get back in the European race, but you have to look at it practically as well and say, well, are they going to win 6 out of their next 6 points? I don't know, will they?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard to know. But moving on to Dundalk and Galway United, Oriel
Mm.
Park, where I finished Dundalk nil, Galway United 2. And to be fair, Dundalk's horrendous record in the last couple of years against Galway continues. They've had, I think that's their fourth defeat if you include the Cup. A number of 2-0 defeats and a 4-0
Yeah.
defeat against Galway. Walsh's goal in 53 and 87 minutes. And Dundalk weren't too bad in the first half of the game. And the second half, Galway absolutely destroyed them, to be honest with you, and could have added more
Yeah.
goals to their tally in this game. And from a Dundalk point of view, as I said there, when I was talking about Drogheda, they're only 2 points out of Drogheda now. And I think Dundalk's issue for me is that they looked a little bit stronger than Drogheda before the transfer window kind of happened,
Mm.
but they were quite decent defensively.
Mm.
They went 8 games at home without conceding a goal, but they're
Yeah.
after changing so much in their defence. Archie Davis is gone. Annie
Mm.
Boyle's injured at the moment. Zach
Yeah.
Johnson has gone, for example, and they've changed the
Mm.
goalkeeper, Doug Goddard, who, by the way, for me, hasn't covered himself in glory either so
No.
far since I've seen him, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
has he?
No, absolutely not. I mean, as you said, losing Archie Davis and Zach Johnson were the two big ones for me because I remember particularly when Waterford played him up in Oriel Park
Mm,
that Davis caused a lot of trouble with his runs from the back.
mm,
I think they've gone more for sort of what John Daly's style is, signing players like Aid Dervin that are going to do the hard work.
mm,
But I read an article in the Independent that was put out last night, basically saying Dundalk have to prepare for relegation if they don't change. It was a really poor performance from them on
mm.
Friday night. I don't think there was ever any real threat that Galway were going to lose the game. As you said, with Goddard, he didn't cover himself in glory. It's a shocking goal to concede for the first one. I mean, he
Mm.
basically fists it into the corner of the net.
And there was
And
another
it's,
poor one, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago against Drogheda United, actually, where
yeah,
he
actually, I remember that.
I was poor as well. And
It
you're
was
right. I mean,
desperate.
that
Mm,
goal followed on from that goal.
yeah.
You're kind of going, I don't know, with this
And
fella.
I have to say, like defensively as well,
Mm,
the first goal, Walsh is like on his own inside the
mm,
6 yard box.
mm,
Nobody's picking him up. And the second goal as well, I don't know who the defender is, but he gets out jumped basically. He's rooted to the ground. I mean, you have to consider like even if Dundalk why I bring up this article is because even if you're not gonna like face the automatic drop, like let's say if the season finishes today and Drogheda go down automatically,
Mm.
you have to prepare for the first division. And like if you're giving away goals like that, if your goalkeeper is that unreliable, like
Mm.
the first division team is going to have a lot of momentum coming into the game. Let's not forget 7 of the last 10 playoffs have been won by the first division team. So like it's a game where you want nerves, you want a rock solid defense, reliable goalkeeper. Dundalk showed none of that
It's,
on Friday
it's
night, unfortunately.
yeah, absolutely. I actually mentioned Boyle was out, but he was actually back for this particular game. But maybe he was
Yeah.
rushed back. I don't know. But a couple of defenders have brought in haven't impressed me at all. Pike is another one. Not impressed
Mm.
with him at all, to
He
be
has a
honest
very
with
good
you.
throw in, to be fair. He threw it in and
Yeah,
you'd say you reached the penalty spot.
yeah. In fairness, like I mean, yeah, Rory Delap number two, I suppose. But
Yeah.
it's great if he can't defend, I suppose, Sean, isn't
No, I mean,
it?
I guess he is signed to be
He'd
a
do well in
defender.
the Galway team, maybe.
He maybe he would do very well actually. I mean, like I looked at that, like yeah, John Coffey was probably saying John Coffey probably taking notes on the sideline, waiting for Dundalk to go down so he can swoop in for him.
Oh God, yeah. But
Yeah,
no, you're right. I mean, there's so many opportunities second half as well. Hurley hit the post, Walsh had
yeah,
chances as well, and it seemed like in the second half a real hush descended over Oriel Park. You know
mm,
that kind of way. It was like
yeah.
we're getting mauled here, aren't we? Actually.
I saw that, and I actually I went to look at the highlights for this, and I saw that I thought it was 2-0, and I thought okay, fair enough. Galway are probably 2 goals better than Dundalk on a good on when things are even,
Mm,
but the comments were overwhelmingly negative from Dundalk fans. They didn't see it until they
mm,
watched it. Like just like it could have easily been like 3 or 4 nil. Could have
mm.
very easily. It was a very tepid performance from Dundalk, a team supposedly fighting to stay up.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, from Galway's point of view, they're banging the European race. There's
Hmm.
four clubs as we speak on 37 points. From Shamrock Rovers all the way down to Sligo Rovers, and they're not going away, are they, Sean? That you feel now with,
No.
you know what I mean?
Hmm.
What? How many games have they got? They've 11 games to go themselves. That
Yeah.
they're going to be in the race till the end. And without getting into too much detail, though, the issue is obviously third is still within grasp, but
Hmm.
fourth may not be enough this year. We don't actually know, but they're definitely there's something to
Hmm.
fight for Galway there, and it's not
Yeah.
near the bottom of the league.
Yeah, well, Fort. I mean, and to be fair to them, on the note of Fort, like that's in their own control as well. Now they've got a tough game against Shelbourne in the cup, but if you know, you
Mm,
wouldn't put it beyond them to win that game. And if they do that, like you know, they might go into Europe that way. I
mm,
think one thing you're always guaranteed is that they're not going to get hammered in any game that they play. You know, they're always going to be thereabouts. They're going to be like, I mean, and it was there again today, like you know, swarming the referee for every decision. You know, the dark arts down to a
mm.
T. John Caulfield and Ali Horgan there have like sort of it's like a singularity has opened up. But it's you know they're so tough to play against, and they got their signing so right. They got
Mm,
their signing so. I mean, Bobby Burns I think played in the cross for the first goal, and they've got Greg Cunningham back now. That's a serious signing,
mm,
and Jimmy Johan almost scored as well today.
mm.
So like you know they've got serious players, and you wouldn't be surprised if they do end up in Europe next year.
No, it's interesting to see their
Yeah.
progress. Speaking of Europe, we finished Waterford FC 1, Shamrock Rovers
Mm,
2, which was billed as a big, I suppose, European game.
mm,
And Corey O'Sullivan scored his first goal for the club. He's only 18 after 8 minutes for Shamrock Rovers. Actually, a very good move.
mm.
Pattison equalised at 52, and Graham Burke came off the substitute bench to grab the winner for Shamrock Rovers in 85. And before we talk about Waterford, I suppose, Sean, massive win for Shamrock Rovers, this. And,
Mm.
some people would say they have glimmer of hope of getting themselves back in the title race. It is a glimmer. They're basically the front runners for that third
Yeah.
spot, I would say, after this win. As I said, all those clubs are
Mm.
level in points, but they do have a game or two in hand with some other clubs. So
Yeah.
from their point of view, first of all, it was a very important 3 points, wasn't it?
Yeah, I actually just got a text from my dad before I did the show, and he said that he basically thinks it's between Shelbourne and Rovers now for the title, which is an interesting take.
Interesting
But
take. Yeah.
yeah, well, I mean, we'll talk about that later, of course, with the big game on Monday night. But yeah, it's a massive win for Rovers. I mean, look, I'm not happy to lose like any game, but I thought the first goal that Corey O'Sullivan got was very, very soft from our
Mm.
perspective. I mean, Rovers had chances before that again were given away very cheaply. So I was very disappointed that we ended up going in 1-0 down at half time. For the first 25 minutes of the second half, I thought we were really, really something. But to talk about Rovers again for a minute, I think what really made the difference was the substitutes. Of course, Graham Burke came off the bench and scored, but I have the players who they brought off the bench here. They brought off Marcus Poom, Josh Honahan,
Mm.
Graham Burke, Neil Ferrugia, and Trevor Clark. And that's
I mean,
ultimately
they
why they
wouldn't get
won the
on any
game.
team in the league, would they? I mean,
Nah, I wouldn't take any of those players. I think I wouldn't take any of those players, not for the under 20s. No.
like when you
But
think about it,
that's,
like some people
yeah,
will say, do you know what, Sean? Some people will say, how the hell are they not actually top of the league or much closer?
yeah.
But I
When
do
you look at the
think
players they have, yeah,
it's so many. It's a couple of things. I do think
yeah,
they've had an outrageous amount of injuries, and even
yeah,
if you've a good squad, also I think their big problem is picking out individuals. But I have to talk about it. Like Waterford scored from it. Um, it's their goalkeeper Liam Poles. I think again he's very poor
yeah,
for the Waterford goal, isn't he?
mm,
He kind of comes out into no man's
yeah,
land, and it's like a FIFA glitch almost. He's just
mm,
stuck. He's not
yeah,
hasn't come out to win it.
mm,
He can't get there, and now he's off his line. He's stuck.
yeah,
I did made a comment about this during the week, actually, about him in
mm,
regards to the European games, of saying even when he doesn't
yeah,
make mistakes, there's no
yeah,
commanding presence there. Is there in the box?
mm.
And I think that's hurt them actually this season in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Manis was always going to be a big loss,
Yeah.
and that's manifested. Um, I'm very curious. I mean, look, I obviously Stephen Bradley sees the players in training, but I don't know why Lee Stacey doesn't get a shout in.
Mm.
He was convincing enough for Cove last season. I know that's the first division, like, but you have to figure goalkeeping is a skill that translates fairly well across levels.
He came in and he came in there for a couple of games though, but he made one mistake against Pats, and
Leon Pose has made more than one
I
mistake,
know,
though.
yeah, but
Yeah.
that seems to have almost
Mm.
cost them, if that makes sense. It's like they've kind of gone
Mm.
ahead in their
Yeah.
heads and said Poles is going to be the number one this
Yeah.
season, and that's it. Like rather than going and bringing in, say, an
Mm.
Ed McGinty possibly that they could
Yeah.
have got from it, before he went to Sligo Rovers,
Mm.
as an example. So
Yeah.
I do think that's hurt them badly, and I do think from their point of view, he's very poor in that Waterford goal, though, in for the Waterford
Yeah.
goal. To be fair, isn't he?
I mean, yeah, he is. I mean, it's like the header almost goes in slow motion, basically. Like it's a very soft goal to give away from
Mm,
a Rovers perspective.
mm.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's been happening all season for them, really, and that's why they're not top of the league. Yeah, exactly as
Mm.
you said.
Yeah, from a Waterford point of view, obviously McDonald was back in this game. I
Mm.
think Bagley came off the bench.
Yeah.
Parsons was on the bench, which was
Mm.
interesting. But it's
Yeah.
obviously three defeats on the bounce for them, and it's the first time they've had this little wobble as such.
Mm.
But the thing is, they're still fourth and very much in the
Mm.
European hunt. But what do you
Yeah.
think are the problems at the moment? Do you think it's just
Yeah.
this was bound to happen at some point, or do you think there's something else? A couple of little injuries making their squad looking maybe a little bit weaker than you would have hoped for, maybe, or.
Well, some people would say that, yeah, like, I mean, and it happened, to be fair, sort of towards the start of the season as well. We went a couple of games
Mm,
without winning, or picking up draws here and
mm,
there and poor performances and whatever. But I think there's a big thing at the moment. I could be proven wrong with this, because I thought initially at the same time last year we did very poorly in the transfer window. But I think we were crying out for. I look at Galway signing players like Jimmy Keohane and Greg Cunningham. And I wonder why we couldn't do the same. Cork have signed, actually, by the way, Sean Murray, Sean Maguire, and Rory Keating this summer window, prepared to go back up. I would have thought, Sean Maguire is from Kilkenny. I would have thought, like,
mm,
we would have had a chance of, like, maybe going for a player like that.
mm.
I understand. I do trust. Look, the board are obviously letting Keith Long have full judgment over the team, and I think we're very lucky to have him as a manager. So whatever he wants to do with the team,
Yeah.
that's his business. Nobody's calling for his head, at least not yet, anyway. But
Sure,
it's
we'll
like,
find a few somehow.
I'm sure if you look, there's one. I'm sure if you look, there's
There's
one.
one. Who are you? If you're
But
here, let us know in the
yeah, if you're
comments.
here, I want to know your opinions. Please don't hold back. But yeah, I mean, I think in fairness, there's a couple of lads, I mean, showing promise, but I mean, there's a few players we haven't seen, like we signed Kyle White from Fleetwood on an 18-month contract.
Mm.
Um, I haven't seen him yet. Don't know what he's about. Asamoah going, apparently they offered him a full-time contract here and he didn't want it. And they tried to replace him with Shane Flynn. But I think he could be a good signing.
Mm.
I think he'd be a very good signing, actually. I'm looking forward to seeing him play, but he's been out with injury for a while, so he's going to need some time to get up to speed.
Obviously,
Barry Bagley as
Akuchuku's
well.
gone for a club record feat Southampton, but he
Mm.
wasn't really used this
He
season
wasn't
because
in.
of that. I
Yeah,
think
it
they
was
knew
a
he was
bit it
going.
was a bit bizarre because he was in the team the whole time, but he wasn't being picked.
Mm.
Um, Glenfield, who started ahead of
Mm.
Parsons today, I don't know what I have made that call, but he does show promise.
Mm.
He's an underage international for Northern Ireland. They obviously think very highly of him at Fleetwood, so he could be another one. But it's going to take a bit of time. I think the again our midfield. I would have liked to have seen an experienced midfielder brought in, and that hasn't happened, unfortunately. But I thought we were very badly stretched in midfield. I thought, and as well as I thought, I'd go back to the subs that Rovers made. We didn't have that kind of depth on our bench, and I'm wondering why. Because that's ultimately where the game was won. Because throughout the second half, we were pushing for the winning goal. We could have got it if we'd have scored during that period where we were on top. But for the last about, let's say, 15 minutes of the game, when Rovers really benefited from the subs and we were starting to get a bit leggy, Graham Burke, of course, scores, and Rovers were on top for a long period there. The goal was a long time coming in that game.
Yeah, it's an important 3 points for Shamrock Rovers. It'll be interesting to see if Shamrock Rovers think that they might be just about in a title race. Who knows? And Waterford fans, are you worried for the upcoming games or not? At Richmond Park,
Oh
can't
yeah,
wait for this one. It finished
nothing
in
happened in this game, did they?
Nothing
Nothing
happened in this
happened
game. In
here.
fact, then the show.
Yeah.
In fact, the Talca Park it finished Shelbourne. No, Richmond Park finished St. Patrick's Leg 3, Sligo Rovers 2. First of all, Aidan Keane got off the mark in 25 minutes with a penalty for Pats. He equalised after Conor Malley had given Sligo Rovers the lead with an unbelievable long shot. Ellis Chapman put Sligo back in front on 53 minutes. Brandon Kavanagh equalised on 65 minutes. To get McGinty, surprisingly, should have done better there, but and then in injury time, nothing happened whatsoever, Sean.
Oh yeah.
Brandon
Draw.
Kavanagh scored a penalty 9 minutes into injury time to give Pats a 3-2 win against Sligo
Mm.
Rovers. And look, we might as well get straight into the incidents
Oh
here.
yeah.
First of all, Pat's penalty in 25 minutes. I'll get your thoughts on it first. Did you think that was a penalty or not?
No, I didn't think it was. I think Mulroney goes down too late. If he's going to go down, he's going to go down immediately under the contact. I think what happens is he stumbles then and he goes down. I don't think you can give a penalty in that scenario.
Did you think it was a foul?
I don't think it was. I don't think it was. I think it's coming together. I think if Mulroney goes down then and there, and the ref gives it, you can say that okay, it's a harsh decision, but the ref is within his rights, and based on what he sees, he can give that. But the fact that Mulroney continues a bit and then he actually loses the ball and then goes down, I think then you can't give the penalty.
I actually think it is a foul. However, I think it was outside the box.
It was.
So we're different a bit there, but
that's a very diplomatic answer.
We've got for different answers, but none of them decisions were given, if that makes sense.
No, yeah.
So, look, I thought he was fouled, but I do think it was outside the box. Personally, I thought it was outside the box. Maybe he was going at pace and it was difficult to see. I can see why a number of decisions can be given there.
Yeah.
The other one, obviously, the one late in the game, what's your opinion on that one? Because obviously this was all over social media and even Sligo Rovers released a statement and everything.
Well, actually, I was going to talk about that because I think that's even more interesting than the incident itself. I don't know what. I don't think there's any contact at all there, really, to be honest with you. John Russell is going to be suspended for at least one game, probably more. Probably for retribution for Sligo. It's very interesting because I mean, like with League of Ireland, you see bad refereeing decisions all the time. Like it's part and parcel. But this is the first time I remember that a club has reacted in this way to a refereeing decision. I don't blame Sligo for it because it cost them the game. Whatever about the first decision, okay, like if it finishes 2-2, I don't think there's that much controversy. One bad decision in the game, what harm? But two bad decisions, in my opinion, and the second one being like so much worse than the first one. I mean, it's beggars belief, really. And that's, I mean, from a Waterford perspective, I was delighted because Sligo would have gone ahead of us if we'd have got a point, if they'd have even got a point in that game. But, from a neutral perspective, like 100% they were right, I think, to do that.
Well, you have to be able to, obviously, I support St. Patrick's Day, but I'm well able to make up my mind on a decision, either or. It doesn't matter to me who the teams are in that. I mean, I can see that, but I think for the final penalty decision, for me, it's not a penalty. I do think there's a little tug, but my issue here is that this is my issue. If you're going to give a penalty for that sort of thing, I think you're giving 9 or 10 penalties a match.
Yeah,
that's the way I see it. I think you're given about 9 or 10 penalties a match if that's the case. You see it an awful lot where defenders are, and
Yeah.
people say there's both of them at it a lot of the time. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
You see where defenders are absolutely
Mm.
dragging out the necks of
Yeah.
attackers and rugby tackles around waists and nothing is given. So for
Yeah.
me, that's why I think there's a little tug, and I think Turner
Yeah.
obviously just goes, hey, he makes a meal of it.
Yeah.
But for me,
Yeah.
if you're going to be given a penalty for that, I want to see 9 or 10
Yeah.
penalties a game, please, basically. If
9
you're
or
going
10
to
penalties a
warrant to give a
game.
penalty for
Yeah.
that scenario, I want to see nine
Yeah.
or 10 penalties every game. That's
It'd
the
be
way I
great.
saw it. And I can
Yeah.
understand why Sligo were obviously very, very annoyed of it.
Mm.
I do think with the statement, though, the only thing I think of the statement, my attitude there is that I'm not really sure what the point is, though. Like, it's not
Mm.
going to get
Yeah.
Hennessy sacked, let's say, or
No,
whatever.
no,
Or
no.
I don't really see where that
Mm.
goes. Like,
Yeah.
and Sligo kind of saying, but we move on. But what's the
Mm.
point in releasing a statement? I read the statement as well, and I'll put the
Yeah.
statement up for the viewers to watch actually as
Mm.
well. And I don't really know what it means, really. It's not really, it's a complaint, but they're not really
Yeah.
going for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what that would do, or
Mm.
they probably think to themselves, look, it's not there to do anything. But
Mm.
then what's the point in even putting the statement out? I don't know. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
the question is for me, who gave that decision as well? Did Hennessy actually give that decision, or did the linesman? Because I expect the linesman to make a
Yeah.
decision in that position. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it is a problem that yeah, it's all very. I suppose part of the problem is that there's no sort of a line of accountability. I mean, maybe that's why Sligo's decision or Sligo's statement was so almost like impotent rage, almost because it was like,
If it was another referee, do you think they would have put out a statement if it wasn't Hennessy?
I. It's an interesting point. I think they still
Mm.
would have because the decision was that bad, and they're in the race for Europe, and that's a. I mean, it's not a death blow by any stretch because
No, they're still there.
there's still 10 games to go, but it's a big step. And if there's 3 points in it, or
Mm.
even a point, or like even 4 points or something in it, come the final day of the season, like you go back to this and you say this is where it happened. This is a defining moment
Mm.
in Sligo's season, especially because now Russell, as I said, is going to get one game definitely. He might get more as a result of this.
Mm.
I suspect. It's very interesting to see what the FAI have to say in response to Sligo.
Probably say nothing, to be honest with you. Not in public, probably say nothing anyway. Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing as well, with 5 minutes to go in this match,
Yeah,
Sligo, I've scored 5 minutes ago. I've lost my bearings a little bit.
2-2 with
Um,
5 minutes.
I was 2-2 with 5 minutes to
Yeah,
go. That's right. Sligo actually hit the post. Joseph and Tang had an
they
absolute
hit. They
clanger
hit.
when they hit the post. That was like, I thought that was in, like, and that would have put
Mm.
them ahead in
Oh
the
yeah,
match. And
yeah.
probably none of this happens then. They
Mm.
probably get, at the very least, a point. So they
Yeah,
probably, from the game itself, they probably deserved a point as well. But
yeah.
from Pat's point of view, they clearly got out of jail, but it is
Mm.
a big 3 points for them. Obviously, coming
Oh,
back from
massive.
Europe,
Mm.
and just to kind of get away from the worry
Mm.
of maybe ninth or 10th. I think this win eases that a lot, though, doesn't it, to be honest?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, as you said, Pat's got away with murder today or on Sunday, I think, because the 2 goals, both of them came from Pat carelessly giving away possession in the middle of the park. The first one, I think, is Al Qasim gets caught, and Mali, in fairness, it's a brilliant strike.
Mm.
But the second goal, then, it giving the ball away, the ball goes past like 4 or 5 Pat's defenders and to the back post then for Sligo. And I mean, look, I think
Ellis
yeah
as
that
well, though. Yeah.
he does, yeah. But I
Ellis
think
Chapman, that is, yeah.
I think yeah, Sligo be aggrieved not to win the game, but I think if it finished 2-2, if we don't have this refereeing decision at the end,
I agree.
you just say, well, look, Sligo are more introspective and say, well, how did we not win the game?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
No, 100%. I think that's the case as well. No, you're
yeah,
dead right. And obviously, everything else manifests then, doesn't it?
yeah.
And the first penalty decision, etc. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Sligo Rovers fans
Mm,
think in the comments, and maybe some Partially Lady fans as well regarding that. At
mm,
Talca Park, and this ended up being a bit of a damn squib, to be honest with you. In many ways,
mm.
Sean, I was there.
Yeah,
Finished Shelbourne 0, Derry City 0. No surprise, though, at the same
mm,
time. And it's as you were for both clubs. Shelbourne 3 points clear with a game in
mm.
hand. I believe the game in hand is going to be against Bowles at Daleyman, so you wouldn't know
Yeah.
what way that would go.
Oh,
Running
that
obviously
could
a Dublin
anything could
derby.
happen there. Yeah.
But, a game where I thought Derry looked like they were a better side for much of the game,
Mm,
Sean, and played some good stuff. They played in
yeah.
front foot. Duffy had a great chance, brilliantly saved, I have to say, from Kearns. He had
Oh
another
yeah.
opportunity
Mm.
as well. And then Sam Todd later in the half gets sent off for a second booking for me. You can have no complaints about that.
Mm.
What's your thoughts on that one, actually?
For the first one, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a stupid foul,
Mm,
really. For the second one, not entirely sure. I didn't see, maybe before that there
mm.
was sort of incessant fouling
There was
that
a
led to that
bit, but I
decision.
can't remember if it was particularly from
Mm.
Sam Todd, like, that kind of way. But there was a
On
bit.
the
There was a number of
Yeah,
bookings, like Kieran Call's booked 3 minutes before that by them,
yeah.
for example, and there was a few bits and pieces.
Mark Connolly got booked actually in the immediate aftermath of Sam
Mm,
Todd's sending off. I think it does. Yeah, I don't. I'm kind of conflicted on this because I think
mm.
it does change. Obviously, it changes the game for
Oh
Derry. They go
yeah.
to 10 men like like that undeniably changes the game, and they were the better side
Mm.
for large parts of the game, especially when they had 11 players on the
Mm.
pitch.
Even early in the second half, I thought they looked the better side, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
And they had a chance where I thought Hubin was going to score one of the trademark Hubin
mm,
headers, a good play on the right hand
yeah,
side and that. But what happened was Shelbourne, obviously, in the last 25 minutes or so, had a lot of possession. They brought
yeah,
Evan Caffrey on actually at half time for
mm,
Mark Coyle, and Evan Caffrey
yeah,
was trying to break the lines,
mm,
almost Frank Lampard style, you
yeah,
know what I mean, and break into the box and that. And
yeah,
but Shelbourne, I thought, even though they'd all the possession last 25 minutes or so, I thought they were
mm,
too safe. I thought there were
yeah,
opportunities where they could have, like,
mm,
there were gaps in behind. It's not as if Derry
yeah,
were
mm.
parking the bus. There were gaps in behind.
Oh no,
And a
yeah,
few times I seen Caffrey make great runs,
mm,
and there's other players in it as well. And they were looking up and they're kind of going, nah, we'll just play it to the side. You know, that kind of way. And
yeah,
Shelbourne really never really, I don't
mm,
think you felt like Shelbourne were going to score even when they had a lot of possession. I think they'll be
yeah,
disappointed with that because Derry were down to 10 and there were
mm,
opportunities to find space
mm,
and they were just far too safe. Now, I
yeah,
don't know if I'd even put that in Duff on this occasion
mm,
because Duff brought Caffrey on for Kyle at half
yeah,
time, obviously to make those runs, I would
mm,
suggest, because Caffrey's well known for doing that.
yeah,
And he was making great runs and they just weren't even
mm,
trying to find him. That's where Paddy Barrett
yeah,
was the loss as well, in my
mm,
opinion, because he can ping a ball, as you know.
yeah. I think both teams would be disappointed with this result. This is, the outcome that satisfies nobody really. Shelburne are a little bit more satisfied because they're still top of
Mm,
the table.
mm,
They haven't lost. But yeah, I mean, obviously the reason Derry didn't go park the bus is because I think they knew they had to win this game. I know they're only 3 points behind now, but
mm.
they haven't. I don't think they've beaten Shelburne this season.
No,
They also haven't beaten Rovers this season, who
no.
are third place. You know, the
They've
only
beaten
team in the
Pats and Waterford on numerous occasions.
the only team in the top four they have beaten is Waterford. Waterford, the only team in the top four they've beaten,
Yeah,
and that is why Derry are not top of the league right now. And I have to say that's
yeah.
why I think they're gonna finish maybe even third if Rovers do get their act together and storm into second place. I think they could end up finishing third. They had to win this game, in my opinion.
Mm,
I know the gap is only 3 points and that can change, but
mm,
like these are the games you have to win. It's all well and good, like I mean, beating Drogheda 5-1 or whatever, and you go to this game then and you can't do it. I understand that the sending off changed it, but yeah, I
mm,
mean, it's still disappointing. As far as Shelbourne are concerned, yeah, I think this was the chance. If you win this game, it's over.
mm,
Basically, the gap is too big to make up. And I think whenever the other team goes down to 10 men, unless you're like defending a
mm.
lead against vastly superior opposition, you have to go for it because you're going to get those gaps. You have to go for it. And I think, yeah, Duff would be
Mm.
disappointed that they didn't.
I wonder if there was a little bit of fear factor there, but I suppose finally we have to talk about the fact that Will Jarvis has now left the club and gone back to
Mm,
Hull. That's a massive blow. Top scorer with 8 goals.
huge. Huge. First Gavin Malloy, now Will Jarvis.
Mm.
Shells are losing their best players.
Arguably Jarvis the bigger loss for me because I think the way
Mm,
Shells play, you can kind of get someone to sit in defensively. You
yeah.
know what I mean? But in terms of someone like him, his output, I think that's massive.
Yeah, it's absolutely massive, and I mean, I don't know what free agents are available, but on the like, I don't know, is there anybody? So you have to say it's going to be difficult to replace him this season.
Mm. They brought in Tulloch, and I wonder if that was the reason they brought him in. Really?
I thought about that too,
Yeah.
but like I would have thought we'd have seen in. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's
Mm.
going to be a 1-for-1 swap anyway.
Mm.
In that department. Um, yeah, so I'm like. I think Shelbourne have enough that if they keep it steady, they can get over the line in the end.
Mm.
But yeah, I think a win on Monday would have gone so much further towards doing that. I think if they won last night, I
Oh,
would have been
they'd be in a
prepared to crown
serious
them
position.
champions. I would have been prepared to crown them champions.
Yeah, that's how
Yeah,
tight it was as well.
yeah.
Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff, Sean. Thanks for coming on, Sean. Guys at home, let us know
There's
what you think in the comments. Plenty of talking points in there, so get in the comments, etc., etc. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and we'll see you soon. Cheers, Sean.
Cheers, Keith.